Welcome guys to our first interview question on recursion. The problem in hand is reverse string recursively. The problem statement says this question requires you to reverse a string using recursion. Make sure to think of the base case thoroughly. Recursion is to be used to solve the problem. Do not slice or use iteration. So now let's go to our text editor and actually think about this whole entire problem set that we have and try and solve it there. And then thereafter we can go to our text editor and then code up based on what we've written on our pen and paper. Okay, so now that we're here in our pen, so now let's see how we can go about the problem, right? So let's say we are given a word that is a, which is equal to word. So let's say we're given a word like that. So what's happening here is we need to go through this word and then reverse it recursively. So the main idea here is we have to think of our base case, right? So when you're looking at this string that is word, we have 4 elements in this sequence of characters, right? So we know that the moment we see the last character in the sequence, right, we then know that our recursive call should end. So our base case, which will be named B, is when our length L is less than or equal to 1. So that's our base case, when the length L, which is the length of this entire character in the string, is less than or equal to 1. And then our recursive call R. So what's happening here is we need to take each word, right, and then tag it inside with the 0th element. So what do I mean by this is we start from W, right? So W is the 0th element in this entire string when we pass the argument A, the recursive function. So we take in W, we extract W, right? This is the 0th element, and then we want all the words in front of W going forward, right? That will be ORD. So we now call our recursive function with the elements from index 1 going forward, but then now our 0th element will be what? 0, and then we take that 0th element 2, right? And then we add that O, and then now let's just change colors, as you can see, and now our O is removed and we want to take elements from index 1 moving forward. That means that we left with what? RD, right? And then from RD we then take in the 0th element, that is our R, and then finally we left with our D alone, which is this base case, right? That is the only character element inside, and then we add that to the string. So basically we bring in words behind the 0th element. So now we have what? Our reversed string, that is DROW, right? So now let's go to our text editor so that you guys can understand how this is actually coded up. I hope this was clear on how the recursive function is working, right? Okay, so now that we are in our text editor, now let's try and make life to what we were talking about in the pen and paper. So let's say define ref and then pass in our argument s. So we need that base case that we were talking about. That base case is if length of s is less than or equal to 1, and then we know that we have to return our s, right? And then our recursive function, not base but then recursive function, our recursive function. Now this is when we apply what we talked about in the pen and paper slide. So what's happening now? Close this. So we said that else we return by, oh my lord, we return by calling the recursive function from index 1 moving forward, but then we're tucking it behind the 0th element. So this 0th element is the one that we're taking, and then call the recursive function on the elements after the 0th element, the 0th index, oh my lord, index element. So moving on, so this should be our solution. This should actually give us our reversed string. So let's call it, so let's say print ref, and then pass in the argument word. So let's see if we get what we're looking for here. We should get what we're looking for. That is DROW. So let's see. And there we go. We get our DROW. So let's try another test case, and then it should be it. Let's say test case. And then we get our reversed string. So now let's go through this one more time so that you guys can thoroughly understand what's happening here. So with this base case, right, we know that we have a string of characters that is 4, that is word. So but in the moment we see one character, that's the only one left, because we're moving from right to left. So this is our breaking point D. So the moment we see this last character, right, in the what we call in the string, we know that there's nothing more that we can iterate through, but they're not really iterating through, but then that we can recursively call, if I may say that. And then else we want to tag in, we want to take in the 0th index and tag in the rest of the characters behind, and that will be reversing our string. So I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a lot from this lesson. So hoping to see you guys on the next interview question on recursion. Like, share, and subscribe. Goodbye.